huge. Welcome, Laura. I'm
Thank
very
you.
excited to do this like mini version of a Thrive Factor experience with you and to introduce you to a couple of your Thrive Factor archetypes. So just some background for anyone who is going to be watching this at an important time. Laura does know her archetypes, but she's only learnt them, what, 3-4 weeks ago? Yeah, if that. So very new. And while I'm very much of the belief that it's a lifetime learning, you know, some people are like, yeah, I know my archetypes now, I'm all done and I've got this and I'm good to go. You know, but it's been great working with you in the Magnetism program and seeing you get to know your archetypes. But part of that, joining that program, is that you didn't officially have a profiling session. So this is a way for us to simulate that. Well, it's not really simulated. It's give everyone else a chance to see what that's like, and give you a chance to get to know a couple of your archetypes more. So before we dive into that, and of course, anyone who's watching, we've got Archie joined us today. So I'm sure Laura's
the show.
Laura's dogs will probably wander through the background at some point in time. Pets are definitely welcome to any like that Thrive Factor experience. But Laura, before we dive in and I introduce you to a couple of your archetypes, this is exactly what I would usually do. I would usually say to any of the business women that I'm connecting with, tell me a little bit about you and your business. So a bit of an introduction, and then you tell everyone what your archetypes are, and then we'll dive into, let's get to know a bit more about a couple of them.
Cool. So yes, I'm Laura. My business is Laura in Order. So I help women in business with all things systems and tech in around launching and funnels. So getting organized, repeatable systems, and taking what is often an idea and making it into something real that actually happens and gets out into the world. That's what I do. My archetypes, some of them were not a surprise at all. Some of them were a little. So I have Queen Ruler, Mentor Teacher, which lifelong student, always knew that one was going to be in there. Mediated Diplomat, nailed that one. Hero and Adventurer, and Inspire Believer, who I'm learning to embrace.
Yes, awesome. So, and that's not an uncommon thing either, is that someone, when I'm doing profiling with them we tend to send the report. So when you do a profiling experience and so a profiling session, you get a 1-page report that gives you an overview summary of your archetypes, exactly what you got, Laura. And I often have someone say to me, wait, there's one there. No, that's not really me. And that's exactly what you did with your Inspire Believer. Yeah. And then there'll be 2, 3, depending on how many archetypes you have, where you're like, that's so me, and I always feel very affirmed too, because say, for example, if you hadn't had Mentor, Teacher, and Mediator, Diplomat, I would have been concerned about my own framework that I've created for, been using for over a decade. Because while I didn't know you very well when we first connected a few weeks ago, I've known of you and your work for some time. And those 2 archetypes were very much out there in the world in terms of who you are, what you stand for, and how you work. So yeah, it's always really interesting. So we've got time to talk through a couple of your archetypes. So the choice is yours. I'm not in charge here. Who would you like to get to meet better? Who would you like to know better and understand? And then as I do this, we'll also talk through some of the potential interactions with your archetypes, which is what the added magic is that comes from doing a Thrive Factor experience and the profiling session. And for anyone learning in Thrive Factor School to be a profiler, also that learning about the interactions, that is the gift that goes, the next level for anyone. So let's see what we can draw out of this for you. So who would you like to know?
I would love to learn more about the Queen Ruler, because she is one I'm also still learning to embrace, and I can definitely see parts of her. Yes. In fact, my business branding is actually developed off the Queen archetype, so it's perfect. But yes, I would love to learn more about her.
Okay, so the Queen Ruler. So we've got images for all of the different archetypes here. So the Queen Ruler is an archetype that I actually do see relatively commonly showing up in women in business, and I'm not surprised because I love to work with leaders, and this is what this archetype is all about. She is the leader. And as I often say in the little message that sits underneath the image on her card is rulership with generous compassion. So she is able to step into the world as a compassionate, heart-centered, inclusive, embracive, beautiful leader who's able to therefore magnetize in her community. Now that may be having a beautiful smallish community, But queen rulers tend to have things on a big scale. So they use the word empire. It just tends to come up in conversation. Now, you may have your own version of that. You may not. I'm not sure. I haven't seen you talk on a big scale. But even if queen rulers don't talk on it, they tend to have these very ambitious ideas about having a following of some description. Yeah. And what they want to really create is a loyal following of ideal people that just adore them and everything that they stand for. Yeah. So there's a little bit of ego that can come through here. And queen rulers, you know, that they like to know that they're important, because they are important. You know, they love the VIP experience. They love beauty. They have a gift for bringing beauty to the world. They are often designers. So I know with you, as you said, with your work, you're working on launches and tech and things like that. But I imagine that you would do that in such a way that is very different to somebody who is driven from, say, a purely liberator engineer archetype, which is not one of yours. It's one that you thought might have been one of yours,
Yeah.
but it's not. You've got next level, beautifying all of the engineering of things, the creating, the building of things on a much bigger scale than liberator engineers will ever do. So when you discovered that you're a queen ruler, you said it's one that you're getting to know a little bit better and learning to embrace. What things stood out for you that you, when you read, and in a little bit of conversation we have had about your queen ruler?
So I think the things that I recognize the most are probably more of the shadow side of it, shall we say?
Challenges, yes.
Yeah. So I definitely recognize in past relationships and things that sometimes it is a little bit like it's my way or the highway kind of thing. Like I set the rules and this is the way we're doing it.
Yes, very queen ruler.
I definitely recognized a lot of those. I guess the bit that I'm still coming to terms with is the leadership thing, and I tend to be one of those people. I'm quite happy to kind of be in the background, just kind of going about my thing, doing my work. You know, back in my corporate days, I never wanted to go the management route. I was always like, I wanted to specialize in what I do and become really skilled at that, but I didn't really want to worry about, you know, having a team or managing people. So the leadership thing, I think my brain still gets stuck on that from a corporate perspective, I guess, around what leadership really means.
Yes, and I think that's the thing that is a good starting point for any queen rulers. And again, it's not uncommon for me to have feedback from queen rulers. As I said, even if they know they want to build a community and they use words like empire and they talk about things on a big scale, they can also report back that they feel uncomfortable about being the leader and about, you know, the buck stopping with them, for example, and everybody looking to them for guidance and support and leadership. So, you know, spending some time defining what leadership means for you would be really useful to do, so that you can get to understand, well, what does it mean to be a leader now? And then that will evolve over time. So it's like an ongoing living definition, if you like, as you get to embrace this part of yourself and step more fully into your leadership. And I think so often leadership is something that's considered such an externalized thing. And yet for a queen ruler, I would also encourage you to spend some time looking at your personal leadership. So what does leadership mean to you from within? Like how you lead your life, the choices you make, the actions you take is the way that I define personal leadership. So from a queen ruler perspective, it is about knowing that you have certain standards, that quality is important to you. Let's say for a queen ruler, it's always about the VIP experience. Like you want the bells and whistles, you want to have a beautiful, luxurious, high-end, opulent, you know, all of that sort of stuff. That's what you want in your life and in your work. You want to work with people that magnetize to that and really respect and can celebrate that with you. So queen rulers can find it awkward sometimes if they've, from a business perspective, if they have a space and they have a community where people are not at that level or not able to engage with that level, you can sometimes feel a bit awkward about, you know, well, I know I want more or I want different, but who am I? Like, is that whole, I'm not that important thing. And yet you are as a queen ruler. You are important. You're able to be very clear on what it is that you want and you expect and you need. And you're able to make decisions very quickly. One of the real gifts of a queen ruler is being able to be very decisive, but without being driven by emotion. Yeah, now this is talking just queen ruler without the influence of your other archetypes, but the other four archetypes that you have are not overly emotive ones. So you will probably find that you don't make decisions with a lot of emotion. It's like, it's this or it's that, and we move forward. Influence of your immediate,
like that.
Yeah, definitely. And you execute on that. That's such a Queen Ruler word, the execute word. Yeah. So you just make the decision and you move on. Done, dusted. Let's go into the next scene. Now, if there are situations in your life, in your business, where things are not working for you, where they're not the right people and circumstances are in play, where you feel threatened or challenged by somebody, often inappropriately, in terms of people are trying to threaten and challenge you inappropriately, there will be a part of you that will come up and go, this is not okay, make a decision, move on. And that's the executionary aspect of the Queen Ruler, where the person or the community or the organization, for example, might be sitting there going, what happens? Like, I thought we were fine with Laura, and you're like, no, this is not okay anymore, move on. Just no emotion. And so when you're dealing with archetypes, advocate rescuers, mother nurturers, sometimes inspire believers, but archetypes that have more emotion driven in them, they can be like, whoa, what just happened? And how come we've just got dumped? And so they can feel really challenged by that. There can be an interesting power play that can exist in the Queen Ruler, who is out there in the world to create a huge empire. And that can sometimes create a bit of a dynamic within you when you discover your Queen Ruler, like, but I'm not like that, because we've often had an experience, all women in business, of being on the receiving end of Queen Rulers that are threatened and are out there with their ego leading. So like, but I'm not like that. No, you don't have to be like that. There's a whole other dynamic. You just said shadow, or I refer to it as potential challenges going on that's impacting that. So sometimes just being able to own the real true message of the Queen Ruler, which is that rulership with generous compassion, is going to help you to do that. Lead from here, not from here, and all of the external ego is going to help you to step up and to be the leader that you are. In whatever size of a community, empire, following that you want. You're in charge.
Yeah, I love that. And I think, like, one of the people in business that I really aspire to be like is Denise Duffield-Thomas.
Yes.
And because she has her own way of doing things, she 100%. Is that more sort of gentle, compassionate, she's not, even though she talks about money and VIP and luxury experience and all of that, it's not ego driven. Like, she's not flashy and blingy. She's still very down to earth and very grounded. So 100%.
I interestingly enough, earlier this year, not the first time I met Denise, but I got to spend more time with Denise at the Ultimate Girls Week Away retreat when I was the opening keynote speaker. And that whole business led by another Queen Ruler that we both know, Lisa Albrecht. And while Denise has not done her profiling, she's, she uses money archetypes. We had some great conversation about archetypes. She wasn't sure that she was a Queen Ruler. She's a Queen Ruler, definitely.
Love it.
So, 100%. As you said, but it's in a different kind of a way, and you can tell the difference when we're out there engaging with other Queen Rulers about, we can be very magnetized to them and love the way that they show up in the world. They've got a sense of authority and presence, so you've got all of that to bring to life as well. But there's a huge difference between those that do lead with that generous compassion and those that are out there with ego and, I've got to show everybody how much I've done and what I do. As you said, it's all the, all the money I've earned, and look at how great my life is, and, very detached from the regular everyday person that we tend to meet, no matter where in the world we are and what we do in our businesses. So that's your introduction to the Queen Ruler. Do you have any questions about her?
Not at the moment. I think as we sort of progress through the weeks of the course, I'm getting to learn more about her and see how she is showing up. It's exactly as you said, like, you can be the ruler or the leader in however way you want, and it's not always the way that you assume, like people in positions of power and all of that.
That's right. And as I said, it's not an uncommon thing for me to have feedback from someone who's just discovered they're a Queen Ruler to feel very overwhelmed by that or potentially threatened by it. And it's often because you've had an experience of an executionary Queen Ruler who is out there wielding from the place of ego and not from compassion. So remember, sink back into your heart and go make your decisions from that perspective, so that, which is not an emotional perspective, that's, you know, it's able to move forward that way. So influences though from your other archetypes, the one of the, I think the probably biggest influences for your queen ruler is going to be your mediator diplomat archetype. Now the mediator diplomat is very practical and pragmatic, so that together with your queen ruler also means that you can just move forward with things and just get things done, yeah, without the emotional aspect. So, you know, it's a diplomatic, compassionate queen ruler when you've got the mediator diplomat. If someone has the advocate rescuer, which is the archetype of compassion, I would say definitely compassionate queen ruler. Someone like, I've got somebody in my world at the moment in business who is a mother nurturer queen ruler. So I often, you know, refer to her as the queen mother, you know, so there's, you know, it's different dynamics. The shapeshifter, alchemist, and queen ruler, magical queen. Yeah, so there's other different things playing it, come into play there as well. So that's your queen ruler. Okay. About her, yes, exactly. Embody her. She's an archetype that often other women who want to be leaders and want to lead on a large scale, like, but how can I do that? Because I don't have the queen ruler. We all have the potential to, you know, embrace all aspects of all 12 archetypes, but it's the key archetypes, and for you, it's 5 that you have that really make up your profile. So you have got an archetype that other women that don't have it can often envy. So it's motivation rather than overwhelm. Yeah. Fabulous. So who else would you like to talk about more?
Mentor teacher.
Your mentor teacher.
Yeah.
You know this little lady very well.
I do.
So here she is here. So the mentor teacher, and the core message that we've got on the card for her is that sharing and inspiring knowledge for everyone. So when you learnt that you were definitely officially a mentor teacher in my framework, what did you think about that? And when you read about, you know, and learned, and as you're learning a little bit more about her from the perspective of how I, you know, introduced the mentor teacher to the world.
Yeah, I guess when I first saw it, I was relieved that I was in fact what I thought I was. Oh, thank goodness. And there was no great surprises. Like, I've always been the lifelong student. I love to read. I love to learn. I love to know how things work. I'm very curious. But I also see it play out in the way that over the last few years of being in business, the way that I work with people. Like when I, for example, if I do like a katra setup for someone, part of my packages is always that I then have training sessions. So I show people how to use it. Like there's very much that, yes, I can do this for you, but you need to have learn. The knowledge and the power to, even if you don't, you know, use it all that often, to be able to go and do things. Like I'm really passionate about making sure that people have the knowledge and the skills themselves, and that they're not handing over their power to other people. So I have definitely seen it play out in that. But I guess also like future thinking for my business. At the moment, I pretty much just work one-to-one.
Okay.
Plans definitely to do some more group things when the timing is right. And I know that the part of me that is itching to do that is definitely the mentor teacher, and having to hold back and wait until the time is right for my business to evolve into that. It's sometimes very challenging.
Okay, so I mean, the coach in me wants to challenge you on that for a start of going, what are you waiting for? And one of the things that I say to every mentor teacher that I get the beautiful honor of profiling and working with is that bringing teaching, education, something along those lines into your business is a non-negotiable. It's one of your superpowers in business. And I know for me as a mentor teacher, that my business went next level and beyond the year that I went from mostly one-on-one and a tiny bit of group work to actually creating programs rather than coaching groups, programs where I was teaching a specific topic and putting that out into the world. Yeah. One of the things that often comes up for a mentor teacher from a belief system perspective is I don't know enough. And mentor teachers, we're always out there going, we've got to do a new course, work with a new person, get a new piece of paper to prove what we know. And until I've got all of those ducks lined up in perfect order, because they have to be beautiful ducks because you're a queen ruler as well. Yeah, they wouldn't be just any ducks. They'd be beautiful ducks that look all matched together. Until those ducks are in a row and working and all pointing the same way, I can't do this, because I don't know enough. I haven't done this. I haven't done that.
Yeah.
Other people have done more than me. Who am I to be the expert? And I think that's a really key thing to chat about briefly with the mentor teacher, is that mentor teachers have expertise, very different to claiming that you are an expert, which some mentor teachers, that it can be the ego-driven ones, can go, I am an expert, whereas tend to find more often than not mentor teachers around, I'm not an expert, because we're still looking at all the things we think we need to learn before we can do the thing and help somebody else. So there's an aspect of acknowledging that you have got wisdom. You also have spent as you said earlier, your entire lifetime learning, which is exactly what mentor teachers do. We are wired to learn. We are wired to seek information and knowledge. We're wired to use our wisdom. That's the thing we don't necessarily use as much naturally. And we love the lessons in a formal sense. So we go and do courses, programs, we get qualifications, but we also love the lessons that life has to offer us. So we use the word lesson and learn in our communication every day as well. So I don't know what you're like, but my mentor teacher will certainly talk to my cat, who's still right here. Yours may talk to your dogs. And it's like, what can we learn from this? So we even bring that language into the communication with our pets or our friends.
Yes.
It's still business. And so let me just tune in. There's a couple of key things I want to also bring to, I guess, really shine a light on here for you, is that the wisdom aspect of the mentor teacher is so significant. Yeah. It's an innate wisdom. Not only do we love learning, we spend our lifetime gathering knowledge and experience, we also come into this world with a deep knowing about things. Yeah. Often when we're little, though, we've had an experience where someone may have suggested that you shouldn't really know because you're too young, or you've got nothing to prove that you know something. Because mentor teachers, when we're little, we tend to just say things. We make an observation and we like to share. Yeah. Now, depending on how that went for you, you may have had experience, as I said, that where someone sort of suggested that you don't really know. So again, that sets up that belief system. Oh, that's right, I don't know enough yet. I need to go and learn more and do more and be more and everything to prove. Here's all my pieces of paper to show you that I can teach you this one thing. Yeah. So we've got to really work on embodying our innate wisdom and starting from that place first, rather than putting any attachment to how much I actually know. And more importantly, how much I know that's more than the people that are going to pay me from a business perspective. Yeah. So I would encourage you not to wait for whatever timing or perfect order or the stars aligning or whatever it is that you're waiting for, and just to launch, use the beautiful expertise that you have in all of that to launch something. Start small if that feels better. Start with a defined group of a smaller number of students, who are your clients, and just put it out there. Because you said you're already teaching.
There's definitely something in the works. It's just
good.
Unfolding in my brain still, but
there's
definitely something in the works.
I'm so delighted to hear that. So I expect to see it, sooner rather than later. Yeah. So what if anything, do you feel, we just said getting everything lined up, what has held you back? Is there anything that you can share that we could maybe unravel with?
Well, it's definitely the not knowing enough, thinking that I need to do like this other course. And I see it, like at the moment I'm doing the course with you and I'm doing the other courses as well. Yeah. Some of them are purely just because the subject intrigued me.
Yeah.
And all of that. But there are also, I think, the way that I do systems is quite different from most other systems people out there. Like I completed the 3rd level last year with Ricky Jane, so I'm also a certified intuitive guide. I just joined period coaching school with Starter because I want to bring in those elements. And so I think what I've been holding myself back is trying to work out how all of those different facets come together into this one thing. Yeah. And it's the Queen Ruler Mediated Diplomat thing of having to get it right.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So
before I can do that thing.
Okay. Also, you're here an adventurer who needs to win. So there's different aspects there. So I'm glad that we've been working together in that, in the Magnetism program, and you're able to start to see some of these things now where they are having an impact in a fabulous way. So mentor teachers are very good at getting also caught up in, I need to include and do everything. Yeah. So one of the things, and you may have heard me say this, and I often share it as a bit of I guess a guide for mentor teachers when they're trying to work out, firstly, what to share in a training or learning or educational type experience, whether it's one-on-one or in a group, is to get a reasonably large piece of paper and to put a list, or which your mediator diplomat is going to love, the list building thing, but so do mentor teachers. All the things that you think you must include in whatever this first program is that you are, working on bringing to life, get it all out of you. Yeah. Because mentor teachers love to over deliver. We can overwhelm our clients very quickly by giving them too much. And they're like, well, if I got that from Laura in one session, I couldn't work with her for any longer because I've got everything. Or, oh, goodness me, if I'm going to feel this overwhelmed every time, that's not okay either.
Yeah.
We're getting all the ideas about all the things that are a non-negotiable, essential, must teach out of your head, and then pare back to and start with about a third. Yeah, which is going to be challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah. So start with about a third. Now, the good thing is that you've got potentially, if you're going to go with a third of what you think is the basics, you've got 2 other courses already mapped out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when I say that to mentor teachers, they go, oh, good, that's awesome. So, yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, because there's that thought of having to throw those other bits away.
No, you don't. You can turn them into other courses. You can turn them into, the next levels beyond that very first foundational course. And because we come at the world knowing so much more than the average, person, except mentor teachers, of course. And there are a lot of mentor teachers in business, no surprise to me. But because we come at the world knowing so much more, we think that everybody else has that same knowledge base. And of course they don't. Sometimes mentor teachers can get a little bit bored teaching at that, what we call the base level or that introductory level. So again, look at how you can use your other archetypes to bring some other things in so that the teaching aspect is still fun and exciting and motivating for you. So you're not like, oh, this is mundane. It's so base level, because that's probably where your people are. Remember, they're steps behind us and not where we are at. Yeah. If they were where we're at, they wouldn't be looking to work with us probably, because they want the knowledge that we've got to share.
Yes.
Yeah?
Love that.
So how could you using that? Awesome. All right. So any other final questions about maybe how any of your archetypes interact before we wrap up?
I guess the bit that I'm still working through is how the inspirer believer works in with those other ones. Because I know, like we talked last week in the Magnetism call about how the other 4 are quite, there's a dog, quite serious and driven and focused. And the inspirer believer is kind of the only one that really has any fun. And she's like,
the others have
squashed.
Yeah, so okay, I agree. Your inspirer believer archetype. So the inspirer believer is excitable, she's energetic, she can be all or nothing as well, and she can come across to other of archetypes that you have, the Queen Ruler and the Mediator Diplomat particularly, as being a bit frivolous and a bit silly. Yeah, so there's a level of judgment. The Mediator Diplomat can be judgmental, usually of herself more than she is of other people. Yeah, so she's also the perfectionist. So being aware of that is the first step to go, when it comes up, going, oh, okay, this is okay, but I'm going to choose to do and think and feel and be different. So the inspired believer, the biggest gift she can give herself is learning to be inspired by who she is, what she's creating and what she's sharing with the world. So that is your focus point, to bring more fun and more of the inspired believer energy. I don't have my pom-poms. Anyone who knows me, even if you don't know me, 2 seconds with me, you'll get to know that my inspired believer is very big in my life. And to the point that I recently bought pom-poms because she's a cheerleader. Yeah. So I imagine when you are working with your clients, that while you are teaching them something, while you're able to hold that beautiful regal space of the Queen Ruler, while your Mediator Diplomat is keeping things practical and easy to engage with, and your Heron Adventurer is taking them on an adventure, your inspired believer is also cheerleading them along the way. Yes?
Yeah.
So own that. Again, she's not going to be as obvious and out there and, flashy as other inspired believers, but she is there within you. And I wasn't surprised to see this show up, because I've seen some of the, the fun, exciting part of you. I see you share that in Facebook groups and different things as well. So, but she is your fun house. Yeah, definitely. But remember, she's all or nothing. So being aware of the amount of energy she puts into things is really key, so that you're not over delivering and then burning yourself out. Yeah, so that's our little inspired believer. All the flames flames of inspiration as much as the flames of being weary, of being burned and burnt out. And that's another thing, as a queen ruler, that could be something that might feel a little bit awkward with you as well, about that being burnt by others. Yeah, you want a loyal following that you can trust. Starts with trusting yourself. Yeah, beautiful.
That's
So
so
lovely,
fascinating.
lady.
So interesting.
Isn't it just? That's just what we covered, what, in about half an hour. So yeah, so thank you so much for joining me and agreeing to be recorded so that we can share this with other people as well. Yeah, so it's really, really such an honor to be able to you know, profile you and to be working with you at the moment, and introduce you a little bit more to some of your archetypes and the fabulousnesses that you've got to offer the world. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, it's super interesting. I'm really, and the mentor teacher in me especially is really enjoying learning all about all of these, and how it all fits together.
Good stuff. I bet she is. Very cool. Thanks so much, and thanks everyone for tuning in.